Hello, I'm John Lintott, and today's March 15th, and I'm going to be showing you a few things that you can do with the GIMP. Now, in my last screencast, I showed you how to make a watermark and some of the legalities surrounding that, and I also touched on some things I didn't have time to get to, and I'm going to try to tackle those today. One of those things was, say you've got a photo of some students, and you need to blur out one of the faces, and you want to do it in a tasteful way. So I'm going to take this photo here of these students, and I'm going to blur one of their faces. Now, as you can see, what I've already done here is I've already made a second layer. I took this layer, hit the duplicate button, and this gave me this copy of that layer. I don't like working on my only layer. In case something goes wrong, I like to have an original to go back to, and I suggest you do the same. So, first things first. What I'm going to show you here is a unique feature that will make editing in the GIMP much easier, particularly with what we're going to be doing today with blurring a face. There's this rectangle select tool and ellipse select tool. If you take one of these, I'll take the rectangle one for now. Make a rectangle around the person's face, and again, make sure you have the layer you selected that you want to work on. There, so I've selected this area here, and if I say take a paintbrush and I draw, notice as I'm clicking here, nothing's happening, but as my brush goes through here, you can see that it will only edit within this box that I've selected. And I'm going to undo that. Now the reason this is useful for blurring images is because it's much easier to blur an image if you just select the area you want to blur. And I'm going to use the ellipse for this because faces are most of the ellipses. And now I can blur with impunity. Let's take the blur feature here. It's up the rate. This just makes it a more severe blur. And change the size to the biggest one we have. Oh, I think if we go to scale, I can make it even bigger. Yeah, there we go. And there we are. The face is blurred. We don't know who this is anymore. Now, you wouldn't necessarily have to use the oval or rectangle here in order to blur a face. You could simply just select the blur feature. Oh, that's too small. Just blur it like that. Easy enough to do on its own. I like using the ellipsis or rectangle because it does make things nice and simple. You can simply select an area and then just make the largest blurring tool and just blur it quick. You don't have to worry about getting along the contours of the face. In any case, to recap, you can use the rectangle and ellipsis tool to select an area, and the blur tool to simply blur within that region. Now I'm going to show you what's the bread and butter of image manipulation software, editing objects or people out of images. Now, the only thing you really need in order to edit people and objects out of images is to know what to do and have the patience and time to do it. I have right here an image that has these people in the background, and I'll show you a completed product I did a little while ago. Now, if you know anything about image manipulation software, you'd probably see that this probably wouldn't pass a close inspection. But I also did it. I didn't spend as much time as you would be able to with yours. But what I will do is I'll show you the process I used in order to create it. Alright, so the first thing I'll do is I will make some space for myself. Since in the GIMP, all the components of it are in Windows, you can modify the shape and size of them yourself, which is quite nice, especially because I'm going to be zooming in. Now here's a more basic example of now here's a basic demonstration of how you would edit objects out of images. First, what I'm going to do, first thing I'm going to do is create a new layer to work on. That's right. Then I will get this, you know what, I'm going to go with this free select tool. It's similar to the rectangle and ellipsis tool, except clicking several times in an area, it creates a free form image rather than an ellipsis or a rectangle. So with this, I'm going to copy it and then paste it. I just Control-C, Control-V. If you're on a Mac, I think it's Command-C and Command-V. And basically, I'm going to be doing this 100 times. Copying areas, Control C, Control V, and just paste this again. I'm sorry if I'm ruining the magic for you of how to edit images, but it's really doing this painstakingly. We've got these little areas here we can zoom in even more and try to get them removed a little better. Now, one way to do this, to get into these little nooks and crannies, it would be to copy again and then paste it again and just keep doing that ad infinitum. But a little trick that I learned that can end up being a little easier for you is to operate on a new layer. So I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to make sure it's transparent because I need it to be. Okay, so now I have this new transparent layer. Then what I'm going to go to this background layer because there's nothing on the transparent layer right now. It's completely blank. So just on this background layer here, with my free select tool, I'm going to select a region roughly in the shape of the shoulder here. There we go. I'm going to Control C, copy that. Then I'm going to select my transparent layer here, and then paste it. Now, because it's on a different layer, I don't have to worry about going over the shoulder a little bit here. As you can see, I went over a little bit in this area here, but that's okay. See, if we click the eyeball on the layer here, because it only exists on that layer, we can turn the view of it off and it goes away. Bring it back. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to modify the opacity. If you remember anything from watermarks, this can be pretty useful. I just need it transparent just enough to see where the original shoulder is, and then I'll zoom in on there. I don't think I showed you how to zoom. I'm not sure how it works on other computers, but just Control and then using the mouse wheel, if you have one, that can get you right in there. So get my eraser here. I don't want a hard edge. Hard edge would mean it gets rid of pixels exactly as they are. I want a soft edge. It leaves the pixels a little softer. It doesn't. It lets the image bleed in a little better. So I'm going to erase parts of the shoulder here, or the grass I put over the shoulder. But I'm going to make sure I don't get into this pink area here, which is that other person's shirt. Ooh. Control Z to undo that. I think that should be fine. Okay. Okay, now I will zoom out. Bring the opacity back up to maximum. And there we are. We have pixelated grass over the shoulder here now. Now, if you remember anything on blurring, all you have to do is go in there and blur that image. Now, what I could take the free select tool and do this, but I'm just showing you the basic mechanics of it, like the tips and tricks you haven't seen before. I could take the free select tool, select around this entire area, and just end up blurring what's in that area, so I don't end up blurring the shoulder into the grass. Although I think I'm going to encounter a problem here. I'm going to see if any of you catch it before I do. So I go to blur. See? Because I had this layer selected, it didn't modify what was on the background in here. Only this part that was in that layer. So I'm gonna undo what I did. I want to make sure it's all the same consistency, not half blurred, half not. I'm gonna take this layer. I'm gonna unselect everything. Take this layer. And with this button here, no, that's not the one. That would shift it down. I don't want to do that. What I want to do is merge down. All I did was right click on it, click merge down. What it will do is it will combine that layer with the one below it. So now it's all the same image. Then on this layer, I'm going to select the blur tool. And you already know about using the selection boxes to only edit within a region. So I'm just gonna quickly show you. I'm just gonna quickly blur this here. Okay, I just jumped the video ahead, saved you the burden of watching me painstakingly blur the image. I'm going to show you a couple other things you can do to help make the blurring look a little better. I took the smudge tool here. You can still kind of see where the original images were, even though I blurred them a little. With the smudge tool, I'm going to go over these lines, kind of draw the colors into alternate areas, reduce the rate to see the next little, yeah, that's less extreme. So I smudge these around a little bit, makes it a little softer. Then I can go back to blur in a few more regions there. Again, this is the reason why you'd want to work on a duplicate of your background layer instead of just that one layer, because if you're not satisfied with the result, you can at least go back to the original image. Now the only part that was for me particularly tricky in this picture was removing this person here, because we had what would be grass, looks like a fence or some buildings, some sky, leaves, and tree branches. Now while it looks quite complicated, it's basically the same process I've already shown you. You'd copy the grass over to here, you'd take this region here, you'd copy it several times, you would take the leaves here, you'd copy them over, you'd want to make sure you leave some spaces here too. You might want to copy little tiny spaces here and put them into your leaves and then smudge it around there. Otherwise you might end up with a solid mass of foliage and you want to show. So as you're copying the leaves over, you might end up with a solid, here, you might end up with something like that. And then you could take little bits of sky, copy that into there, and then blur it around so it has this more natural look, like these ones up here or over here. The tree branch as well, same process. You'd copy the branches over, you'd copy an area here, and keep pasting it until you have where you would think the tree branch would be. Since this is in the shadow, you might want to make sure it looks extra dark when you're done too. Because if you copy just this area here, this is quite light, it might seem out of place. This brings me to something you might not necessarily think of when you think of someone editing an image. Sometimes they just have to make stuff up. I don't know what this tree actually looks like behind this person. I don't know what kind of buildings are behind there. I just have to create something that seems appropriate. So I'd have to bleed the branches and smudge them into shape that, as long as it looks alright, that's fine. With the previous image I created here, yeah, if I did this again, I could probably make it look a little better. This seems to repeat too obviously. I would probably edit one of those out. I don't like how the slope of the earth doesn't match up over here, so I might try to copy this region. Like if I did this again, I might copy this region and paste it over here and maybe smudge it again, just to make sure it seems more level. It seems like it just gets up too suddenly. Or maybe even copy just this light area here. We zoom in, could maybe copy that, paste it over there, maybe make it look more natural. And the branches themselves aren't necessarily the best. But if, say, someone was looking at the image from this distance, probably wouldn't even notice. So, to recap what I've shown you, what you do basically to edit an image, you take your selection tool here, you copy something basic, say grass to cover the people, you smudge it around, and you do the same thing with every area. And also, don't forget how much utility you can also get out of layers. Remember that layer trick I showed you with the extra transparent layer to erase images. Well, that's all I have time for today. If you'd like to see my previous video on how to use the GIMP, or my next video, which should be on animations, visit my blog at words.usask.ca/jlintot. If you have any comments or criticisms, or something else you'd like me to show you, please leave me a comment on that blog there. Alright, thank you for watching.